We've made it to the penultimate episode of Peacemaker Season 2. Let's talk about Episode 7. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome back into JC's Movies, where you can see all kind of movie and TV show content here with me, JC, of course, here to talk about Peacemaker today as we continue our episode recaps. We've been trying to drop every Friday here, following the episodes coming out on Thursday night, as we'll be covering the DCU on the channel extensively. So if that's up your alley, if you like that, if you like other superhero movies, you like comedy, you like horror, those specifically, you're going to love this channel right here. We talk a lot of those here on JC's Movies. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, chat some movies with me, and hit the like button while you're watching this one. That helps us out with that YouTube algorithm, helps us find more fans of movies and TV shows like yourself. With that being said, and that little bit of spiel out of the way there, let's get into it. Let's talk about episode 7. This one was a really good one, man. Like a Keith in the Night. And when I saw that title, I was like, oh no, this is going to involve the brothers. This one might hit the heart. And we know one thing that James Gunn has done with Peacemaker is he's had good emotion with it, had good comedy with it, and this brought both of those and really, man, got me super excited for where this thing's going to end up. Let's get into it, man. Let's talk about the episode here on JC's Movies. All right, so of course we pick up literally right at the end of episode 6 where we left off on the cliffhangers that we talked about in the last episode recap here on the channel. Specifically, we pick up like in Argus with Chris and, Harcourt from the main universe there, and he ends up, fighting off the security as they come in and attack and stuff. And he apologizes to the Harcourt of that universe or whatever. He's just like, for what I'm about to do, wrecks him. They end up running out, and that's kind of where we start off. And of course, then we have the cliffhanger of where Adebayo ended up. And we learn, that in this world, the Nazis, of course, had won World War II, and that's why it is the way that it is. And so, it's not necessarily directly tied into Chris's dad like we thought it would be because of what season 1 told us. So that was a little bit of a twist there, in my opinion, because even towards and throughout this episode, we learned that Chris's dad in this universe is a little bit different than what we expect. So they got us with that one. That was good stuff, James Gunn. Well done. Well done. Tip of the cap on that one. Of course, James Gunn wrote this episode as he wrote all of these here in season 2. Althea Jones, I think, directed this one. But we pick up from Adebayo's storyline there as well, where she's being chased by the racist mob there, and she's actually saved by Judo Master, who we didn't see. We knew he followed Peacemaker in there, but we hadn't seen him, and he ends up saving her. She's swimming through a pool. He helps her out, and then he has like a phone wire and sticks it into the pool and electrocutes all the people that were chasing her to save her. And they actually end up bonding a little bit, spending some time in this house playing not Scrabble, but Scrabble. As we know, some of the names are different, and they had some fun with that shit in this universe as well, which I thought was pretty cool. And then we knew at Economos, where did he leave off in the last episode? With Chris's dad, stabbing him in the hand with that knife. And then he's pretty much, spit out everything there because he thought he was about to die, and told him, everything about Chris and where he was from and how he killed the other Chris and all that right there at the end of episode 6. So now he has him tied up, and he's calling Chris's brother Keith to tell him, to come back here. Whatever you're doing, this is more important. And of course, we know that Keith's in that mob that's chasing Adebayo. So he leaves and comes back to the house and tells him that everything that Economos told him basically about his brother being killed by, the Chris from that universe and everything. And he also said that he had seen his doppelganger. So he had seen, Chris's dad from season 1 at some point. So he knew that it was possible that there was other versions of them and stuff. So he believes it right away. And, of course, when we get later in the episode, we'll talk more about that, because he's actually forgiving and stuff more than you expected. So like I said there, that goes with the twist that we talked about that James Gunn put on this episode to just make it extra juicy, man. I think this is one of the best ones. I feel like I keep saying that here in the later portion of the season, but I'd put this one top 3, probably, maybe top 2. I don't know, definitely top 3. I'd have to go through. I might go through and try and rank them. Maybe I will do that at the end of the season here. So where were we at here? Chris's dad and Economos, we left off there. Okay, so Peacemaker and Harcourt, once they escape Argus, they get cornered by the cops. Got them from the back, got them from the front. They try and turn off. There's nowhere to go. They're surrounded, guns drawn on them. They're about to be arrested. But Chris's dad and brother show up because they don't want him to tell the police about the portal. So they come up there and they just wreck the damn cops, kill like 15 cops, and tell, of course, Chris and Harcourt to come back with them to the house there where Economos is tied up. Meanwhile, we come back to the main universe where we do have a little bit of stuff going on still, mainly, of course, that storyline with Rick Flag Sr. there, General Flag, and then um, I can't remember what is her name. The cyborg chick. I cannot remember her name for anything ever in these things. I could look it up right now, but I'm not taking the time to do it right now. We got to get through this recap. So they go to wherever Lex put them on, right, to find the portal, because we had the Lex cameo, and then we get another cameo from Superman with that, and it's the guy that you remember. He wore the thick black glasses, and he was kind of an older guy, and he's the one that's wanting to shut the rift down at the end of Superman, and Lex like won't let him do it or whatever, and so that's the guy that Lex sends him to locate the portal, and his name's Halperson, I think, and he immediately finds it for them, and that was pretty quickly. So they know where the portal is. So we know that they're heading to the location right there, Peacemaker's house, and that'll culminate here at the end of the episode. But we also get a Superman cameo there, so had to throw that in here to the recap. So Chris's dad and brother take Harcourt back to the house where Economos is tied up, like I said there. And once they do, we see that that's where Judah Master and Adebayo are. They talked about going to save them. So that's where they show up at the house there. Meanwhile, we get the two vigilantes talking about everything that's going on. And when he, learns about the Nazis winning World War II in this universe, he's like, oh no, we're going to have to save my friend Adebayo. And so they go to save her. And so then they show up there as well, which is hilarious because as soon as they get there, they're like, we got to come up with a plan, because the cops are also there in that universe, of course, because where they just killed all those damn cops. And of course, Peacemaker escaped Argus and, injured a lot of people there as well. So they're like, how are we going to get in here with all these cops surrounding us? And the two vigilantes are like, hey, let's kill the cops. And Judah Master's like, I agree, we should kill the cops. And she's like, let's just try and sneak in. So that's what ends up happening, is they end up trying to sneak in, I guess. But, that's the last we kind of see of that conversation. And then that's when we go into the house where we get Peacemaker, Harcourt, Economos inside, and Peacemaker's explaining everything that happened, and he's completely honest. It's everything that we saw in the beginning of the season when he first found that dimension and accidentally had to kill his doppelganger himself from that universe. And at that point, Chris's dad believes it and says, okay, we're going to let y'all go back through to where you came from, and I'm going to change the code. Y'all never come back. Don't ever want to see y'all again, type shit or whatever. And the whole time, Chris's brother's, of course, getting angry, doesn't agree with it. Doesn't care if it's an accident that he killed that Chris. He's pissed that he killed his brother. And that's kind of what's going on. And then, throughout all that, we kind of find out, okay, this version of Chris's dad's different. Like I talked about earlier in the episode, that's when you really find that out, is throughout that conversation. And, he's actually given kind of like a speech there, a little bit of a monologue, when all of a sudden you just see coming in the background, it's Vigilante, and he comes diving through the window and tackles Chris's dad and just starts stabbing this man in his jugular repeatedly. So, yep, Chris's dad's dead again. And then, of course, Chris's brother is super pissed or whatever, but sad at first, just stays there holding him and crying for a minute. At that point, the cops burst in. The two vigilantes start taking out the cops while everyone runs to the portal. Everyone's about to be in the portal except for Chris and Harcourt. When Chris is running towards the portal, of course, that's when you see the angry brother come in, tackle him. Here's Keith showing up. And that, of course, prompts the rest of the group to come back. They all attack Keith, and they've got him, pretty much about to kill him. He's on the edge of death. They got him in a headlock. And then that's when you see Chris starting to lose it, have flashbacks to, when he had to kill his brother on accident, when he was kids. And then now having to see him die again, he makes him stop, just in time to where it looks like he's still dying, but Chris approaches him. And, at that point, we start seeing kind of a montage of all the people that Chris has killed, and he really breaks down right there when that happens and says, everything he touches dies type thing. And it's super emotional moment. And of course, we know James Gunn can deliver those well. And I'm going to tell you what, John Cena acted the hell out of that thing, man. I think that's the scene that James Gunn was referencing in the past when he was talking about John Cena, how much he's improved as an actor. And I think you saw it come through there, through the screen. You felt that emotion. And that's what we're talking about, man. You get great comedy in this episode, and then you get great heart there at the end. So, basically saves his brother's life in this universe because he's still barely hanging on to life there at the end. They all enter the portal. The last to go in is Harcourt, and she tells the vigilante from that universe, hey, give me a gun. She's about to finish Keith off, and she literally says, "I'm sorry, but I can't have you coming after him." And she points the gun at him, about to take him out, and then bam, that's when the rest of the cops that Vigilante didn't kill yet burst through. So she doesn't get to. She has to dive through the portal. Vigilante from that universe stays there fighting off those cops. And the next thing we see of Keith is he's out near an ambulance, but he's alive. So definitely that's going to come home to roost in the final episode. And I'm worried, personally, speculation here, Peacemaker might have to kill his brother again. And that's going to be brutal. That's going to be brutal if that is the case and how everything, winds up. But as we know, soon as they go through the portal back in the main universe, who's there waiting? Rick Flag and company, as we expected, with the scene that kind of teased that up with earlier with the Superman cameo that we talked about. But as they come through, we see Chris close the portal, have that silver alien briefcase shit that creates the portals or whatever, throws it to Flag and tells him, hey, all of these people literally came through there to convince me to come back and give you that, so that he's the only one that gets arrested. And that's the way where the episode ends right there, with Chris being arrested, being hauled off by Flag and company. And we're going to see where that ends up here in episode 8, the final episode here of season 2 of Peacemaker, which has been phenomenal, man. I didn't think they could top season 1, but I don't know, man. I think I've enjoyed season 2 even more. It's right up there with it. They're both phenomenal seasons. Great stuff James Gunn has done. John Cena, everyone involved has been awesome. And this has been a great series. And I think, as James Gunn promised, it is going to be impactful for the DCU. That's what I'm excited about. And I think we're really going to find out a lot about how impactful it's going to be for the DCU in episode 8 even. Could be even more over the top, and I got a feeling this is going to be the best episode of the season. And I can't wait to watch it and recap it with you guys next week as we wrap up Peacemaker and continue our coverage of the DCU here on JC's Movies. So there you have it, but those are just my thoughts. Would love to hear yours on this episode of Peacemaker, the season in general, or anything you got there. Leave it in the comments. Appreciate those interactions as I continue to try and grow the JC's Movies channel here on YouTube. And I appreciate you guys tuning into this one, and I'll catch you on the next one.